Welcome back, everybody. Dino Alberto is always keeping track of the local racing scene, local motorsport journalist. Always a pleasure to have him here on the show. And so often you bring talented drivers with you, Dino. Recently we met Jaden Harman. Today we're going to meet his dad, Jason Harman, also a champion, 600cc micro sprint champion at Greenwood Valley. I have to read my notes that Dino provides me with. And I want to start talking about your son, then we'll come over here to Dino. Jaden, 8 years old now. He said he started at 3 years old. You started very young in this sport. Was that from when he was born, you were like, let's get him in a car as soon as possible? Or?
Yeah, I mean, my whole family's been racing for a while. I started go-karts actually at Greenwood Valley when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, around that time. Ran karts up until about 15-ish, and then my dad and another gentleman, a couple other guys owned cars that ran at Evergreen Speedway back in the day. You know, worked on those cars as a crew member. Shortly out of college, I started driving down there in street stocks up to modifieds. Then we ended up getting out of racing for a little while, a couple of years, and then got back into go-karts and stuff. But yeah, when Jaden was born, we, ever since he was a little guy, he was always fooling around on the battery cars and stuff. And about 3 years old, they started a kid kart class, which is a little smaller go-kart that runs off a weed whacker motor, for lack of a better engine. And he ran that for 2 years, and then bumped every year. We've been bumping him up into a new class, and every year he's been shining.
Now, do you ever miss the go-karts? Do you get in like the small? I'm sure your car's much different now, but do you ever get out there with your son?
No, I'm too old for go-karts now with no suspension. My back can't handle the go-karts anymore.
Dino, let's talk about, you always provide such great commentary. Jason, I mean, talk about him as a driver as you're watching him out there winning titles.
I've watched this guy for years and years, as he said, coming up through the ranks from his days at Evergreen. He went out, as he said, he got out of it for a while. It was great watching him race at places like Borger Speedway when it was a pavement track there. And then he gets into this 600cc, and that's just an amazing little powerful race car. It's the closest thing, or the next step, I should say, to getting to a full sprint car. And these things have a lot of horsepower. It's a great horsepower to weight ratio. They get around quite handily. He has a top wing on his car that also helps him maneuver better through the corners. And the thing with Jay is that you know, he's been at this game for quite a while, the last 4 years, basically 5 years almost, and it wasn't until this year that he finally started getting the wins coming his way. But not for lack of trying at all, because the competition in the 600cc division is absolutely phenomenal throughout the entire region. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, there is just a boatload of talent that's out there. And he races against a lot of heavy hitters himself out there at Greenwood. And, you know, to finally pull off that first win was something. As a matter of fact, he got his first win the same night. His son also was in victory lane that same evening. But very proud to know that he was able to accomplish that championship, because as I said, competition is pretty stiff where he's in with that class.
Jason, talk about the season a little bit. I mean, what really worked for you, so much of the car, and you have so much racing experience. How do you start turning that into W's on the track?
I mean, it's just hard work. We're at it 4 years, but up until about halfway through the middle of last year, not that we struggled, but we were a top 10 car and a top 5 car. From the middle of last year, the top 5s were a weekly occurrence. And we started this year right out of the hole, firing on all cylinders. You know, a lot of it was a lot of hard work over the winter. New parts, new stuff, new engines, a lot of new stuff on the car helps out. But this year it just started off good, and it kind of progressed all the way through the whole year. And at the end, we ended up reaching our goals on both my son's side and my son, on both winning the championship down there.
I've heard that you've been in a lot of different cars. I mean, do you have a favorite, or I mean, are they both just so different? I mean, what do you have the most fun in? Or?
I mean, everything's different that we ran on my side, since we've been running dirt primarily solely for the last bunch of years. I mean, you can't hardly beat it, because everything's changing. It's never the same. Not week to week. The racetracks change from heat race to feature. Even during the feature, you know, all the cars like I run, we have adjustable shocks and adjustable wings. There's stuff that me as the driver inside the car can adjust on as the race is going on, you know, because the tracks changes. As they dry out, they slick off, ruts form here and there. I mean, dirt's a whole different ballgame than pavement.
The last question I wanted to ask you was your son had to take a week off for Little League and that. I mean, who's driving him there? I mean, are you taking a week off as well? Or
No, my wife, she puts up with quite a bit between working in the garage, working on the cars, coming to the races. It's a time-consuming sport. Not only is it every Saturday from the end of March till the end of October, but there's a couple nights during the week and stuff. So she fills in a lot, runs the kids around. So we get to go out in the garage and do what we love to do.
So it's a true family effort there with Harman Racing. Thank you so much for coming on, Jason Dino, and thank you, as always. Look out for his work in the Standard Speaker.